Good evening. I had to delay a few hours because got caught up in watching the court case over or coverage of the court case over in the United Kingdom on Prince Harry and the time difference. I was up way too late, so I needed a bit of sleep first. Yesterday was the hearing for James Brenner, supposed to be preliminary hearing stuff, but they still haven't done the preliminary hearing stuff, and it's kind of a continuance. So the next court date is going to be July 31st. It takes 6 weeks notice for them to be able to get Brenner transported because he's in federal custody. So that's they're wanting to appoint court counsel, and that's largely what this hearing dealt with. But let's take a look at this little video. There's been a lot of questions about James Brenner and his health, and I was just reviewing this story by Nate Eaton, who was there with a camera, and the camera was right over by where the door to the jail area of the courthouse is. So he got some good close-up footage of Brenner when he was coming in, and I think we've got some answers. Let's see, who have we got here today? We've got Gizzy Sue and Tom Evans and Where the Wind Blows and Criminal Med, formerly Grandma Bunny. I hope everything is going well with Criminal Med and her house that she's dealing with. Harry's statement is, I heard it was 90 pages long. So anyway, let's take a look at this story from Nate Eaton, which I think gives us a few answers on Jim Brenner and his weight loss. So let's make sure I got it here. Okay, here we go.
I'm Nate Eaton in Brigham City, Utah, where the man accused of killing Dylan Rounds appeared in this courthouse Monday afternoon. James Brenner is charged with aggravated murder and desecration of a human body. He limped into the courtroom wearing an orange jumpsuit, handcuffs, and cuffs around his ankles. His attorney asked Judge Brandon Maynard for co-counsel to be appointed in this case.
Okay, let's stop here. Let's go back to where he enters. Okay.
James Brenner.
Okay, see there, we've got some muscles there on his forearm there. And let's go forward a little bit more.
Is charged with aggravated murder and desecration of a human body.
See, we've got a muscle definition here, which can clearly be seen. That he's been working out. I guess he's been taking advantage of the prison yard and the gym equipment. So I think that he's probably in the best health he's been in years, looking at that muscle tone on his arm. So, okay, let's
He limped into the courtroom wearing an orange jumpsuit, handcuffs, and cuffs around his ankles. His attorney asked Judge Brandon Maynard for co-counsel to be appointed in this case. Dylan's parents, Candace Cooley and Justin Rounds, were in the courthouse along with some other extended family members. Brenner was charged in March for Dylan's death, although there has been no discovery of his body. Dylan is still missing. He vanished a year ago over Memorial Day weekend in the remote town of Lucin, Utah. He was farming in the desert area when he vanished, and since then his parents have been working tirelessly to bring their son home. I asked what they thought when Brenner walked in the courtroom this afternoon.
He's despicable. His whole act of limping around, it's a complete act. It's not real. I don't know if it's so we think he's going to die and make him in some sort of deal or what,
he just wants people to feel sorry.
He just wants people to feel sorry for him, and it's all an act.
What did you think, Justin, when he walked in?
Same thing. He just looks for attention to have people feel sorry for him. That's all I think. It's an act.
Now, Brenner is also facing federal charges in addition to the charges here in Box Elder County that are related to Dylan's death. That means anytime Box Elder County wants to hold a hearing with James Brenner here in this courthouse, they have to get the feds' approval, and that can take 6 weeks. So this has been a drawn-out process that is frustrating Dylan's parents. The next court appearance is scheduled for July 31st, when a preliminary hearing will be decided on whether to hold that preliminary hearing or whether that hearing will not be held. Of course, we will continue to stay up on top of it as Dylan's parents continue to search for any sign of their missing son. Reporting in Brigham City, Utah, I'm Nate Eaton, EastIdahoNews.com.
Okay, so, yes, the hearing will be on the 31st, but Nate Eaton's not going to be there because that's the day the Lori Valadabel sentencing is, and so he gave me his business card so we can liaise about the Brenner hearing after it takes place, and that was rather fun. Well, I'd probably shuffle at least. The parents are rather dubious about whether Brenner is kind of faking it on the limping. I suspect he did sustain ankle, has some permanent ankle issues because he was weighing quite a bit. He injured the ankles and had to have ankle surgery after the, I think that was after the assault that they still haven't addressed. Let's see. It's Ogadal, is that it? No socks, really hurts. I can't say that I've ever had shackles on, but I would imagine even with socks it would have to hurt because those things are heavy. So where the wind blows, he was that's a very interesting question about the assault, because what we've been told about the assault is that he assaulted a guy, I think it was like in February a year ago. I think it was February 22nd, according to the information on the court website, and that he was beating a 70-year-old guy up, and then started hitting him with an aluminum lawn chair. And so that's what he was supposed to be in jail for at the time Dylan went missing. And if they had him locked up like he was supposed to be, Dylan might still be alive. Yes, a lawn chair assault. I'm not sure. It might have been Bibbin's father, but the thing is, this is supposed to have happened at the gas station there in Montello, but it's Utah charges. And so that doesn't make any sense, because you can't charge somebody in Utah for a crime that happened in Montana. And so we're wondering if there's a second assault or whether we've got some bad information. And so we're guy that I'm working with, we're trying to see if we can't track down the information about the assault case, so that maybe it'll give us some insight as to Brenner and what sets him off, and so forth. Okay, yeah, if it was an assault in Tremonton, that makes more sense because Tremonton is just north of Brigham City. But I've been wondering if there are two different assault cases, and that there was a case over in Montello, but another case that's in Utah. So I suspect there are two different assaults, and that's why we're getting information that doesn't quite match up. So Tom Evans, to me, he looks flat out messed up. This guy is 11 years younger than me, and yet he looks older. Yeah, he's showing his age. Well, he's actually looking better this time. The wavy hair and so forth. He looks somehow healthier than he did the last hearing. When you live hard, you'll look older really fast. Yes, I remember the quote from Raiders of the Lost Ark. Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones says, "It's not the years, honey. It's the mileage." So the assault was in Box Elder. It happened on the grain shed property. Well, not for you. That's I don't know if we're talking about the assault with the 70-year-old guy in the aluminum chair. It's possible. We need to get some information from that. I didn't put anybody in time out. Cougar Girl. I did have a mod, but I don't know if that a mod did anything. So let's see. Every suspect is innocent until proven guilty. We don't know if it was an act of self-defense or not. This is true. Yeah. Let's see. Hi, Matt. I think maybe the thing to do is see if we can get a police report on the assault, because we have a date. So I think maybe that's a place to start, is to find out what happened. But anyway, he was supposed to be in jail at the time, and got released when he shouldn't have been. So not a good thing. So let's see. We have that. Let's see if there's anything else. Now, I left because Candace's husband said she wasn't going to be speaking, but she did go on to speak to Nate Eaton for a minute here. So let's take a quick look at that.
Okay. Your thoughts about today's hearing?
Good that we have an attorney now again, so things can move forward. That was our last hang up. There was one appointed and then taken away and now reappointed. So it doesn't sound like that's going to change again.
Your thoughts now that we have to wait until July 31st for the next hearing?
Everything's been 6 weeks apart because he's been in federal custody. So hopefully they get that case wrapped up so he can move to Box Elder and we don't have to wait.
What were your thoughts seeing James Brenner walk in?
He's despicable. His whole act of limping around, it's a complete act. It's not real. I don't know if it's so we think he's going to die and make him some sort of deal or what,
He just
but
wants people to feel sorry.
he just wants people to feel sorry for him, and it's all an act.
What did you think, Justin, when he walked in?
Same thing. He just looks for attention to have people feel sorry for him. That's all I think. It's an act.
Okay, anything you want to add?
We'll see where we go on the next one.
Okay, let's go back to something she said here.
Everything's been 6 weeks apart because he's been in federal custody. So hopefully they get that case wrapped up so he can move to Box Elder and we don't have to.
Okay. Yes, I thought that they were supposed to have the federal case on the 24th. It's supposed to take 3 days, and I lost track of that one because my sister ended up having emergency surgery at that time. But when I realized that I had missed the beginning of it, I checked the docket for in the federal court, and I couldn't see it. So that seems to indicate that the federal case was again postponed. So let's see. Chase was in Montello last Saturday. Yeah, he's got 3 years parole. I communicated with Tracy, his ex, and she's not happy, rather afraid that that Chase Venstra is going to come and try to take her boy away from her. There are outstanding charges in Montana for domestic violence, but for some reason they didn't file an extradition request before he was released. And so I'm not sure. She's not sure what's going on. They were living out in an antique, vintage 1950s trailer out there, and there I was gonna. I was planning on another trip out there to the area, and I was gonna get some sonogram pictures, which were out in the trailer, but somebody has come along and stolen it. So I'm afraid that's gone. So hello, Racing Stars 2013. So apparently she says there are some domestic charges against him in Nevada as well. So she's hoping that he will be rearrested, but I don't think that they're terribly happy about him being out in back around in the Montello area. But Tracy will be happy because he's not there in Montana giving her grief. So Dylan was a bit cocky when he felt he was right. That's usually true of a lot of young people, and sometimes it can get them in trouble, and probably is partially what ended up causing the incident where Dylan lost his life. So Chase can't leave the state, but he was in. Okay, I wasn't sure if where the probation was set, if it was in Utah or in Nevada. So we know that it's he's not to leave Utah, but he was in Montello, so he's already violating his probation. So Nevada has a charge for possessing a gun as a felon. Yes, I would imagine so, because the weapons were in Montello. So let's see. Yeah, Chase, we need a huge white stripe going down the countryside so that he knows where to go, or maybe an electric fence. So okay, let's go to the people in the case. So we've got let's see, I thought we had, okay, that's not the one. Okay, let's go over here. This is Blair Wardle, who is the prosecutor on the case. And this story is from May 2018. And he was Box Elder County Prosecutor Blair Wardle received 2 prestigious awards this year, but is giving credit to those he works with and help support the county's team to fight crime and keep the peace. Wardle has been a prosecutor with Box Elder County since 2012, and in that time has handled 21 jury trials, half of which involved victim-related crimes. Just a side note, I know this was 2018, but I do find it a little worrisome that he had only had 5 jury trials 21 jury trials in I guess it was 6 years. I hope that number has increased in the last 5 years, because that's not a lot. Now, most of these cases end up being settled short of trial, and it's not as populous a county, so you can't judge them by Salt Lake County standards or Utah County standards. So let's see. Looks like that's all there is in that piece on let's see. Okay, let's go back over to the defense lawyer that Brenner has right now is Michael Studebaker. So I got, let's see. Okay. It says Mike Studebaker. Mike grew up in Southern California, attended 2 years as an undergraduate student at Brigham Young University in Provo, Utah. After 2 years of school, he enlisted in the Army and served as a medical supply specialist and combat engineer. He and his family were stationed in San Antonio, Texas, Colorado Springs, Colorado, Camp Housie, Korea, and Fort Campbell in Kentucky. After serving in the Army for 7 years, Mike and his family decided to leave the Army and attend law school. Mike moved to New Hampshire and attended school, graduating in 2002. After law school, Mike and his family relocated to the Appalachian Mountains of Kentucky, working as a staff attorney for the Appalachian Research and Defense Fund of Kentucky and the Department of Public Advocacy. 2004, Mike and family moved back to Utah to be closer to family. He opened his own offices and strives on a daily basis to help people with their legal needs. Now, let's see. Okay. I did some more research on him, and he handles divorces and let's see. He handles civil matters, and he is not a specialist in homicides. So let's see. Let's catch up over here. I think Chase came to Montello to get stolen things upon. He has fines to pay. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. And in the time that we got a tour of the area around Montello, it was like, well, this is where he stole the guns from, and this is where he broke in there, and so forth. And he's got those little hidey holes all over the desert where he stashed things, because we looked at one of them where he and Tracy had been living. She didn't know about that specific hidey hole. It might have happened. He might have put it there after she left and went to Montana, but she did confirm that he has hidey holes, which he stashes things all over the place. So, he's probably going to be a witness in the case, and so he's a person to pay attention to. So, and he does have outstanding criminal charges for domestic violence. So, anyway, at the hearing, they wanted to appoint co-counsel, and he was asking for Jonathan Nish to be appointed. And so let's go over here and look at Jonathan Nish. Jonathan Nish has a more of a criminal background here. In this little pie chart, it says 30% of his cases are violent crimes. 20% say criminal defense, though you'd think that violent crime and criminal defense are kind of like the same. So then we've got sex crimes, drug crimes, federal crimes, and white collar crimes in a decreasing order. And let's see. Let's go over here to this one. Jonathan Nish says, I am primarily a criminal defense attorney. My specialty is homicide cases with an emphasis in death penalty law. Just a side note, they aren't pursuing the death penalty. I am specially qualified and licensed to try death penalty cases. In the course of my years of practice, I have handled several capital murders. I've also handled all felony misdemeanor matters in both state and federal court, including white-collar crime. I'm licensed in both Utah and Idaho. My goal as a practitioner has always been to make sure that my clients feel as if they were my only client. If you or a loved one are in need of professional help, please call blah, blah, blah. So, let's go to the hearing now. We've got the entire hearing. Let's get this set up here. Let's go. Okay, make sure that we've got this. Okay, now we can make it go full screen, and here we go.
All right, Mr. Studebaker, there are 3 matters we're scheduled for decisions to preliminary hearing. So, Your Honor, on case ending in 128 and 171, we'd ask the court to have those trail case ending in 110. In case ending in 110, as the court's aware, last time we were in court, the court had to write, or I guess provisionally or whatever, I had to plan to make part of the contract we have with Bottsville County. And then subsequently, after research, and I think probably in communication from the AOC, determined that because Bottsville County pays into the Indigent Defense Fund, that aggravated murder would be presented to that. And then about the same time frame, I'm really qualified, and all the other really qualified lawyers received an email asking for anybody who would have the ability to represent Mr. Brenner. I responded yes. So my name and probably others were submitted to this court. This last week, this court issued an order, I think it was Thursday, appointing me under the Rule 8 process. We started to work on that. We have to enter a new contract with the Indigent Defense Fund, not with Bottsville County. and then they would then handle fund request, separate contracts, things to that effect, which the court's aware with. I then reached out to Attorney Jonathan Nish. John is also a really qualified lawyer, and asked, for him, because I was on vacation, to start looking into this, what we need to do. He reached out to the Indigent Defense Fund, and then started that process for me, and then said we would need this court to appoint co-counsel. When I looked at the emails he was sending me while I was gone, as well as his communication with the IDF, it would appear that under the contract they require 2 Rule 8 lawyers to be appointed on any aggravated murder. That's not within the purview of Boston County. This is something that's part of the what I refer to as the fund. We had filed a motion, I believe Saturday. I was actually at the airport and I filed a motion, asked this court to appoint Jonathan Nish as co-counsel pursuant to the IDF requirements. The state has not had the opportunity to respond to that. I acknowledge that. We just filed that as soon as I got back to shore. And so our request would be that, I guess, if the state wants to file a response, then we need the appropriate time to respond on things to that effect. If they do not wish to file a response, we'd ask the court to issue a written entry similar to what the court did when the court appointed me. So we could bring Mr. Nish on and we can go from there and set the next court date. So I think that's the first hurdle we need to jump through. Hurdle, not huddle.
All right, hurdle. Anything from the state?
I saw the filings. I don't know how the IDF works as far as them appointing a second counsel. I know they do, definitely in capital cases. This is not a capital case. But if the IDF covers 2 attorneys, I think that's none of my business. So I think that's the only question I have is whether on a non-capital aggravated murder case, whether it covers 2 attorneys or just 1.
So the information I received from Mr. Nish, who's very qualified, he's with this court or was with this court already on a ruling case. So on that one, it was capital. We acknowledge that. But the contract says the way IDF interprets that is that, and I acknowledge that the state of Utah in this case is not seeking death, but the contract and applying the statute says that if death may be a possibility, and it's not in this one, but if it may be, and it's not about the general code section, then they appoint you. And usually it's lead counsel, which would be myself, who reaches out and finds competent, qualified co-counsel on that. We have very qualified public defenders, so I'm not saying that they're not, but they are not really qualified. I'm the only one who is really qualified. And so I think what I would ask for is issue an entry, appointing Jonathan Nish and then IDF as co-counsel. And if IDF has a concern about that, then we can come back before this court and raise that issue. Otherwise, if we give the state a chance to respond, and which we're entitled to, and then we reply, and we have to do notice to submit and all that type of process. But I think maybe that'll help alleviate so the county is concerned, we could issue an order or maybe an entry order saying that's appointing Jonathan Nish, unless IDF objects. And then Mr. Nish would be, he would have to enter a contract with IDF, like I have to enter a contract with IDF. That would be the position I would take. If the court agrees that with that, then we set the next court date.
I'm just not sure that your interpretation is correct when you say may. Clearly, as it's charged, it may, but with the state's declaration,
Right.
That may eliminate that.
It may, I agree.
And so therefore, I'm not sure if that would apply. So,
But IDF, the way the contracts, what I'm being told, is that the way the contracts are drafted by IDF, any Rule 8 case, because lots of other counties pays into that fund, and not all the counties do, it's usually the smaller, more rural counties, then IDF appoints 2 Rule 8 qualified lawyers. And that's something that's outside the purview of anything here. That's why I think maybe to protect everybody's concerns, we could have the issue of order saying that Mr. Jonathan Nish is appointed as co-counsel and is ordered to, do the same thing the court did with my appointment, and then go forward there. And then if IDF has a complaint or concern, right, we come back before this court and say, hey, Your Honor, It would appear that we were all wrong. We ask for a vacate the order appointing Mr. Nish, and we go from there.
Let me just I'll take a look into it, and then I'll issue an appropriate order.
Okay.
Whether or not I believe that that is the correct interpretation, and then once I've issued that order, if there's some disagreement from either side, you can address it at that
Okay,
point.
then we can close the hearing. So what I'd ask for to do is set this for decision of prelim. I hate to do this, but for the decision of prelim, July 3rd, the reason I hate to do it is I'm just recovered from surgery that week, but we need to get this case proceeding forward.
So unfortunately, we have to do at least 6 weeks.
Here's the problem that is, I guess, presented in this case.
Sure.
And I think you're aware of that. Mr. Studebaker, Mr. Brenner is in federal custody.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Each time this court acts, it has to get permission from the federal government to bring Mr.
Right. Yeah, that was my mistake.
Mr. Brenner in. And from what I understand from the state, the process is a minimum of 6 weeks.
Yeah, what I'd ask for is
Is
that,
that accurate?
100% correct.
yeah, that's correct. Some of the counties have something that just goes with federal. That's something anyway. That is correct. I'd ask for it to set this for decision of prelim, July 31st, then
1:30.
yeah, that works out.
Is that all right with the state? All right, July 31st at 1:30, where the state has no opposition to the appointment of Mr. Nish. If that is feasible and can be done, Mr. Studebaker, after I've had a chance to review it, I will issue the order. If not, I will issue an order.
Okay, and then if there's an objection, we can ask for an objection, and expect you to put a hearing on it.
And if not, then I will issue an order that says that that request is denied. At that point, you can go yourself before.
Okay, we'll do that. But on that one, because Mr. Brenner is a federal inmate, we will request to keep his custody waived. We don't want to wait till July 31st to, get co-counsel appointed.
Oh, if I deny the request and you object and you want to have a hearing on the issue,
Right.
you want that to waive this
We
appearance.
waive this appearance here, yeah, just because we don't want to drag it out.
Okay, does the state have any opposition?
No, that's great.
And are you all right with that as well, Mr. Brennan? Is that a yes? Yes. Thank you. All right,
I don't see that.
that'll be everything then, unless you have something further.
So that's all we have, our thank you.
Thank you.
Very much.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nate Eaton.
I've got too many tabs with too many things like profiles here. So the Cougar Gold. I don't think Chase is an intrinsically bad person. I think that he is rather prone to his vices and looking for quick money, like a lot of people who indulge in illegal drugs. And Tracy needs to go into hiding, protect herself and her child. Yeah, but that's easier said than done. So I haven't seen his record for a while. It's I remember somebody going over it. Yeah, Jim is definitely a more sinister character. I mean, you had the intimate assault case and attempted murder back in the 1980s. And yeah, there's a lot of people who wonder if he might have done somebody in sometime in the intervening years. I mean, he's got quite the temper. And he's moved around a lot all over the country, and I'm not sure, does anybody remember how it is he ended up in Montello in the first place. Yeah, back to Chase Venstra. Tracy said that he could be charming, and he had certain qualities that were attractive, but he had the drugs issues, and sadly, people who are into drugs do things that they ought not do. So, but she still kind of has a cares about him, even though she knows it's best not to be together. So, standoff with police is not a drug charge. I didn't hear about a police standoff. So, what about Bibbins? He's the worst one. When I was out in Montello at the cowboy bar, I was asking one of the locals, so who do you, if Jim Brenner had help, who do you think would be? And that gal said it would be Bibbins with Chase and Robert Avila's helping. So he's been mentioned as those are people that the locals see as police standoff. And I see, I remember that now. Thank you, not for you for reminding me on that. I had forgotten about that because it's been a while since I've looked on. Let's not forget Don. Yeah, some of the people I communicate, we've got some questions about Don Hately, and we'll see. Let me go back. I had a phone call there. So, Chase didn't hurt Dylan. No, I don't think that. I don't think he did. I think if he's involved in the case, I think it's as an accessory after the fact. Don, I think somebody said that he moved away. He was over near the Lucin Pond, as I understand it. Chase does need to go to rehab. I agree. Dylan gave Chase a ride, as I understand it. That was over between Rosette and Park Valley. So, and Dylan seemed to be coming down from Tremont that day. So, anyway, I think that's about all I've got from the hearing. But in reviewing the footage of Brenner entering and exiting, he's got some muscles on that forearm, and it doesn't look like flaps. So I think he's been working out, and the weight loss is not all due to some wasting disease like cancer or something like that. Yes, it was years ago. That would be 7 years ago. Clinton is where the guns were found, or they were in the a motor home, and that's why the federal charges were out of it was out of Utah and in Davis County as opposed to Box Elder County. So we know he does hang out there in that area. Chase did spread some bad, wild rumors about Dylan. He was jealous of Dylan. Yeah, younger guy, good-looking kid. Says, Gizzy suit. It said Oakley or Declo, Idaho. Indy, some say Casper, Wyoming. Oh, is that where Don Haley is probably gone? If I had to put him anywhere, I would say Idaho, because everybody tied to the case seems to be related to Idaho. I mean, you've got Kurt Wadsworth, you've got Dylan, you've got Don Haley. Maybe the only one who doesn't have Idaho associations is Jim Brenner. Maybe if Jim Brenner had been an Idaho, out of Idaho, we wouldn't be hearing this news story. I don't know. Dylan never said that he gave Chase a ride in the days before he went missing. I thought it was the grandmother who said that. I want to get to the preliminary hearing in earnest so that we can get some more details, because that's where we got the details in the federal case, like the fact that that he was named as an official suspect and various other things, and so I kind of expect more things to drop at the preliminary hearing. But good grief, they still haven't had the preliminary hearing on the assault charges and the federal or the state weapons charges, and it seems like everything is now tied to the murder charges, which are of course the most serious. Oh yeah, you're right, Lone Ranger. He did work for the parents, so I guess he didn't spend long enough there to. But no, Dylan isn't here to tell his story, and it's sad. I'm hoping to get maybe some police reports and things to see if we can't learn some more on some of these things. Dylan said he left him in the desert and didn't give him a ride. He was, as we understand it, he was dropped off at a certain mile marker over towards Rosette, and that was it. But in the story that Kurt told me about the Chase and not having shoes was that there were these other guys who were under the belief that Chase had an outstanding warrant, were trying to do a citizen's arrest and get the police out there, and Chase was running from these guys who were trying to restrain him, and lost his shoes in the process, and that he was bloody from getting cut up by some of the sagebrush and other shrub type plants that grow out there in the desert. I don't know that that's true, but that's what Kurt Wadsworth told me when when we were out there looking at the sites where he lived last July, when we didn't know if Chase was, more directly involved or not. So Shack Lady thinks Brenner is going to be banking on self-defense. It's possible, but we'll see. Yes, it doesn't matter. It is a moot point. Okay, so you heard that story. Okay, well, I think that's about all I've got today, but I kind of would like to make another trek out there to Lucin and Montello. I did some video footage for a project I had in mind, but decided that the footage wasn't really what I wanted for the project, and so I want to get something that's a little more artistic. So I'm hoping to make another trek out there before long. So anyway, I will bid you all good night, and if I can get a hold of some of these records, then maybe we'll do another story. So that's the latest, and I'll bid you good night, and we'll see you in the future. Bye-bye.